Hello, everyone. Thank you for taking a look at this to listen to what I'm about to share with you. An experience that by far is the worst thing I've ever experienced, especially with a partner, an intimate partner in my life. And it has really shown me a lot of things. That also taught me a lot of things too, and especially not only myself, but from a societal perspective and the legal perspective, being in the legal system. Um, so I just want to summarize what I'm about to share into a few things: a brief history of my partner and I, how we met, her health challenges when I found out about that, some of the things that we went through, then hearing about the rumors of her cheating, and then confronting her about that, and then what happened the night when that whole thing went down, which then led to a 911 emergency call, and then um, issuing a restraining order to be removed from my home, our home, and then putting this out there, just really talking to other people, especially legislators, about what happened and their questions as how this happened, so. And then we're going to talk about the statewide initiative that I'm doing, researching on the way in which the court systems are used, restraining orders against people, especially people who are victims, who have been victimized, and then someone using the court system as a way to be vindictive against that person, or re-traumatize and re-victimize that person. And then the legislation that I've proposed as a result of what I've learned over the last 9 months. So bear with me. I'm going to try to wrap this tightly for you, because I know that there will be another part to this. It's not just this one piece, because it's a lot. So first, I want to just say thank God for His mercy, His grace, and staying faithful to Him staying faithful to me, to cover me through this time and this process, because I literally felt like I've been in a spiritual warfare for about 2 or 3 years. I knew something was going on, things were happening, wasn't sure what it was, but I just knew that I was in a spiritual warfare. I know I went into the healthcare system. I had over 60 health appointments, health visits, and health crises between 2023 and 2024. I was in the emergency room over 35 times. I had 9 different procedures. I have 12 health issues that developed over the last 2 years. I'm talking 2 years before this event happened in October 2024. So it has been a lot, and I do mean a lot over the last 2 years, just with this and my health, and now you're gonna see how this all comes together, right? So just want to acknowledge God, thank God. Just I could not make it this far without God, but not only without God, but my faith in God, that being a good person of good character, being respectful, being loving, caring, and all of those things, no matter what happens. I've always told myself, and my mother always told me, she said, the most important thing that you need to do in life is be a good person, have a good character. Always be respectful of people, because you don't know how life can turn around and you become someone who is in that person's shoe. So I'm always keeping those thoughts of my mother in my mind, of what she has taught me when I was growing up. So I met my partner in 2016. I was running a child development center in the Bronx, and she was one of the parents at the center. And just being there, being in and out of there, I ran into her 1 or 2 times, and we just started talking. But the conversations we were having were just, I felt a very good connection with her. I usually don't try to do work and personal life together, but sometimes things happen, and here was one of those times. So we started dating in 2017 and became an item in 2017. She was a party promoter. She was doing a lot of events around parties. West Indian holidays like Memorial and Labor Day are the busiest times when they do all these West Indian parties and stuff. And so that's how I ended up meeting her at the center, and then seeing the work that she was doing and being a part of her life with that. So that was 2017, and as we became an item and we got to know each other, one day in 2019, she went to this party for a day or two. They were partying for a day or two, and she was texting me. She was like, my legs are really hurting, my legs are swollen, it hurts really bad. And I said, all right, well, listen, stop what you're doing, come home so that you can rest your legs, right? If you're in that much pain and it's hurting you that much, stop and come home. So she came home, and when she came home and I felt her legs, they were burning, they were swollen. I said, this does not feel right. This does not feel right. Let's go to the emergency room. She said, no, it's okay because I'm used to this pain. You know, I've been living with this pain for a lot of years. And so, but I said, you know what? This does not feel right. I work in the health field. So for me, anything when it comes to health is not something I take lightly. So I literally dragged her to the emergency room. When we got to the emergency room, and told them what happened. They did a sonogram and x-ray on her leg, and the doctor said, listen, if you had not come here when you did, this blood clot that you have in your leg could have moved up to your lungs and become something very more serious. I was not aware that she had, this health condition. And so from that day in 2019, that emergency room visit, it really prompted me now to really take her health very seriously, because I know what it's like to have blood clots, and I know what blood clots can do to someone. So from that visit in 2019 to the emergency room, I literally started taking care of her health. I asked her, I said, have you ever gotten this thing looked at? Have you ever done that? Have you ever, done certain things to address this whole thing? She told me she's been living with this pain and swelling for so many years, and she works on her feet and always on her feet. But I knew it was something more than that. So I got her doctors, and I was already working in the health field for 20 years. I'm well respected, well known in the health field. So when I reached out and I said, hey, my partner is having some health challenges, I need some help, I got some of the top people in the field to look at her. And so I remember when we went to one of her appointments, the nurse who was checking us in said, wow, you're here to see this doctor? How did you get an appointment to see this doctor? He is a doctor who teaches this whole thing about hematology. He's one of the top doctors in the Northeast, and how did you? So from that moment, I guess, recognizing the level of connectivity that I have and the respect that I have in the field, she was like, okay. And so from then on, I've been managing her health, whether it's getting the doctors, making appointments, making sure she stays an appointment, making sure that she is, taking whatever necessary steps needs to be taken when she is working, when she comes home, elevating her legs, massaging her legs and so on, so that she can feel better and relieve the pain that she's going through. I didn't realize until she started telling me, and I was like, okay, we really got to look at this. And one day, one of the test results found out that she has a mutation in her blood that causes clots. And that when she started opening up, yes, my family history, have family members who have died from blood clots, and really this is a very serious health issue. All right, I was like, okay, well, that now prompts me to even be looking at this a whole lot seriously. And so I started honing in on her health. And I mean, like, seriously, like, okay, eating, sleeping, resting. You're on your feet long days, she's coming home. For those who don't live in New York City, who don't know, parking is one of the worst experiences in New York City. And depending on where in New York City you are, parking, you could drive around for 3-4 hours after a long day of work. You could be driving around for 3-4 hours just to find parking. And so it was not feasible with her, because she works long hours on her feet and then comes. So sometimes she will be coming home and she's like, I'm so tired of my legs. So I will take the car, get her to come inside. I will take the car, be driving around for hours to find parking while she gets in a rest. That's how serious her health issues were. When we found out the results of the blood mutation, we were like, no, we got to take this more seriously. So we decided to buy a house to move out of the city, because between her health and what was needed and this whole thing about this strength, driving around and all that, it was not going to work. So we decided to get a house upstate. We would still work in the city, but at least we'll be able to start migrating, like moving. So when when the pandemic came, it was a perfect time, because we saw how New York City was changing. And I personally said, I'm not staying here in New York City with all of what I've seen, from COVID. And so when we decided to get a place upstate, we got a place upstate in 2021. in the capital region, and then in 2022 we started moving and transitioning, and then she had to find a job. I was already doing my virtual work, so transitioning was easy for me, but for her we had to make sure she found a job. And so this is how we were moving. I traveled a lot to the city. I would work for days in the city, but I would come home in the weekends, or sometimes I'll work from home during the whole week, but that was good. So when we got the house, it was, still making sure that she was comfortable. The important thing is this was our own space. We could do whatever we want with it. And one of the first things that I did when we got the house was I got her an adjustable bed frame. A bed frame that could elevate, her legs, so that her legs could stay elevated to help with the blood flow and help with the swelling and the pain that she was feeling. So we made everything that we could do to make her comfortable, because again, how serious it is. She has had multiple procedures on her legs, whether it's to stop a blood vessel or open up a blood vessel. And in the last 2 years, between 2023 and 2024, she had 2 major surgeries to put stents in her thighs and legs because of the blood flow issue. So this has been a very serious health issue for her, and not just for her, but for us. And it did alleviate some of the challenges, because being in our own space and being away from the extra things that would add to the pain and suffering was great. So when we moved upstate, as I said, we traveled back and forth. Her mother still lives in the city, so she would travel downstate to see her mother, which is a 2.5-hour drive. Depending on traffic, could be 3 hours. But I was always in my head so fearful whenever she goes on this, to visit, because I know what it's like traveling. And when you hit New York City traffic, especially when you get, certain past place after the Governor Cuomo's bridge to get into the city, traffic can be a mess. So I'm always very mindful of that. So whenever she goes down, I'm always either staying sometimes with her on the phone or checking in with her while she's there, just reminding her, don't spend so much time in your legs, keep your legs elevated. Remember, while you're partying and you're doing all that you're doing, make sure that you are taking care and being very mindful of your legs. This mutation thing is very serious, right? Don't wait until your leg feel like it's gonna burst and all of that. While all that's happening, we got the house. I became the carpenter, decorator, landscaper, hardscaper. I became all kinds of things, right? Working on this home and property that we have, and it was fun. I had my surgery on in March 2020 on my foot, so that was also one of the reasons why we decided to move out of the city, because also my foot and the surgery was a reconstructive surgery, so it was a very extensive surgery. But her health challenges was one of the primary issues, and so we wanted to make sure that was done. So I was excited. We had our own home, we had a property. It helped me to deal with just the stressors of everything we were both going through with our health, and just really being in a place that we felt like this was our home and this was our space. It didn't come without challenges. I mean, I'm raising 2 sons that are not my own. They came there with her, so they came part of the package. So I'm raising 2 sons. One at the time was 5 and the other one was 13. And so it was 2 young boys of color, and there's a whole lot of things that goes into raising our young men of color. But also the fact that I'm not their biological father, and that presented a whole lot of challenges itself. The smaller one, he was very resistant to me when we first met. But you push through the challenges and you just keep it moving. In December 2022, her pain was so bad in her legs that we had to go to the hospital. When we went to the hospital, she had another clot, so they had to admit her and keep her because of how bad her legs were swollen and the blood was not flowing. That was December 2022. She spent 3 days, 3 nights, that means 4 days, and I stayed with her for the 4, because she was like, I don't want to be here by myself. Yeah, you're telling me that I need to go home and I should go home to get some rest, but at the same time you're telling me I don't want you to leave because I don't want to be here by myself. So I said, all right, I'll just stay. Right, so I literally stayed there by her side in the bed in the hospital for 4 days. Then we came home. I wasn't feeling well, so After settling her in and getting her comfortable, 3 days afterwards, I had this pain in my stomach and I went to the emergency room. And next thing they told me something is going on that they had to keep me. So I ended up spending 7 days in the hospital right after we took her home. So it's been a lot. She has traveled back and forth a lot, especially as I said, these West Indian weekend holiday weekends, a lot of partying, a lot of family get-togethers, a lot of cookouts, a lot of events and all that. So I knew how that goes. I understood how that goes, and so it was to me it was nothing. So over the years, that has been how it's been. However, in 2024, October 2024, I started hearing these rumors that she was cheating, and she was seen in places with multiple people within certain periods of time. And I was just like, there's no way. You're not talking about the person that I know. And I'm just like, no, that's not real. So people were asking me, are you guys still together? And I was like, yes. And they were saying, well, we saw her at this place or that place with this guy or that. And I was like, are you sure it's her? And did so we never made our relationship public, like online, but we were known because people have seen us together. They've seen us at events. I do a lot of speaking events, I host events. So she's been seen with me. So people know who she is in that capacity. So when the rumors were going around, it was within some of the same areas that we are known in. Anyway, I never said anything because at the time that the rumors were being circulated, she had taken a trip to some missionary trip they had taken to Israel or Italy, and they were just there for 10 days, a missionary trip with her mother goes through every year. Interestingly enough, the year before that, when the war between Israel and Palestine started, her mother was on that same trip, and they got caught up in Jerusalem with this whole war. They got stranded. It was so crazy. When my partner said to me, hey, my mom is in Jerusalem and they don't know what's going on, they don't know what to do because flights were canceled, all this thing was going on with the war between Israel and Palestine. And so I said, all right, let me reach out to my people, because I do a lot of work with government, so a lot of government people know me. So I reached out to our Congress people, I reached out to some elected officials, and I said, hey, my mother-in-law, because again, this is my partner. We talked about, we're engaged, all of that stuff. I said, my mother-in-law is caught up in the war in Gaza, and so we need to figure out how to get her. They were like, oh my God, Mr. Scudder, I'm so sorry. Let's connect you with the State Department. Let's reach out. We're going to let the State Department know who you are, give us her information, all of that stuff. I got her information to them. They connected the State Department. State Department found the mother and the group where they were, arranged transportation to get them safely out of Jerusalem, get them back stateside, and that was awesome. That was in 2023. I needed to keep up with the timeline with me between 2023 2024 for a reason. So year forward, 2024, she goes on another missionary trip, but this time she goes with her mother, and while they're there, I'm hearing the rumors. So I didn't want to disrupt the trip with this, and it wouldn't be right to have this conversation that way. So while she was on the trip, we were texting back and forth. She was sending me pictures of, the historical biblical places that they've gone, and, just how it's been for her and what she's felt just being there and all that. While she's there, I'm hearing stuff of people and places and inappropriate behaviors that people were seeing, that they were just like, well, this is not right. If she is with Mr. Scudder, how is she? So I, again, defending her. 2 days before she came back, I texted her and I said, do you miss me? Because we were texting back and forth, and she was saying it's hard to make phone calls because of the cost of all of that. And I said, I get it. So we were just texting. 2 days before she came, and it was like, you miss me, happy to come back home. She was like, right now I need time to think. I need some time for me to figure out where this relationship is, and I'm just not feeling, so I need some time. And I said, all right, fine, take the time that you need. Just let me know what your thoughts are, what you want to do. In my mind, I didn't know that we were having problems of that level that warranted this. I know one of the biggest issue, and the only issue I know, we were having money issues because, again, she has a stable job. I'm doing my consulting business, and it was a lot that happened since COVID. So my stable income was no longer stable. I was not making money. I was not even making enough money to. So she paid the higher portion of the mortgage, and I took care of everything else. So money was a conversation we've had multiple times, and I knew that she was very unhappy about that part, but we were getting through. We fell behind a couple of times, especially when she was in the hospital, and then Ivy was in the hospital, and then after her surgeries, the surgery that she had in 2023, she was out for 6 weeks and she was not being paid. And so with my little income, I was just taking care of what I could. So we fell behind a couple of times in the mortgage. That's all that I could think of, because we've never argued, we've never had a fight. Things were great. Well, I thought things were great, but come to find out that this money issue was really the thing that really was a breaking point for her. Anyway, 2 days before she came, she said she wanted time. I said, all right, fine, that's good, you let me know. So she came back to the US, but then she didn't come home that same day. She stayed downstairs with her mother and then came up the following day. She came up, she said she was tired, the trip, the whole thing. So usually I do what I do. Whenever she goes and travels, I'm always in emergency response mode. I'm always in that mode of, oh my God, she's gonna come home and she's gonna be tired. So let me get the ointment, the creams, the towels to wet and heat the towels. I go through a whole thing with her whenever she comes home from traveling or from work, massaging her legs. 9 out of 10 times she falls asleep because she's tired and her legs are really hurting. Have to feed her in bed. Do so much to alleviate a lot of work that she would do at home, because I know she's always out traveling, work, back and forth, standing on her feet, all that. So when she comes home, I try to make sure that as much as to be done is done, so she doesn't have to do anything. And if she has to cook and she wants to cook, that's it. But feeding her in bed, taking care of her, making her comfortable, all those things, doing laundry, all those things, just so that when she comes home, she can just rest. Sometimes we try to watch movies together, and it would take us maybe 2-3 weeks to complete one movie, because she would come in and she's tired, and 5-10 minutes into a movie she's out, and I'm just like, all right, I can't watch without her because she wants to watch it. So there's a lot of things that we had to wrap around her, and just this whole piece with her health and how serious that is. And she had a family member who passed away in 2023 from a blood clot. Her father's situation got worse with his health as a result of blood clots and swelling. So 2023, 2024 with their health issues was very serious. So when she came up the night from the time away, we started talking, and she was talking about the trip and all of that. And then she said, I think I want to be in my own space, and I want to be in my own space, and I want me and my kids to be in our own place. So I said, okay, all right. So what does that mean? What does that mean? And it brought me back to something she had said to me back in August, when she said, I need to tell you something, and I don't want you to, I need to tell you, because I'm not an emotional person. I'm not like you who can just talk about my emotions, but I've really been trying, and so I would like a man who is financially stable, who takes care of all the bills and finances of the house and the car and everything, so I can use my money for the feminine things that I need, and just for whatever things that I need. I need that. And I said to her, well, I understand that, but I'm not that man. I said, you know my financial situation. You know the thing. I work for myself. I have my own company. I do the work that I'm doing. Plus the last 2 years between the health issues and everything that's been going on, I can't guarantee. I can't commit to that because I don't have the resources of me to do that. But if all the other stuff that I've been doing, loving you, caring for you, taking care of your health, managing your health, helping you with your work, and when you send me emails about, hey, can you read this, tell me what you think, or when you send me a graphic, hey, I need a graphic design, can you help me, or when you say, can you help me with this, or help, so many different things that I've been doing to help you. If those things are not of value to you, then I'm sorry, financially I'm not that man. We left it like that. We never said anything else. One day I came up to the room in August 2024. She was laying on the floor in a curl up position, and I saw her and I laid down behind her, put my hand around her, and I held on to her stomach because I know she also has some other health issues. And she was like, so this is what I should do when you're not feeling well? And I said, Now, I have been through a lot of health issues in the last 2 years, and she's never been to any of my doctor's appointments. She's never been to any of my 9 procedures. Some of my 9 procedures were full anesthesia, like full not. She's never taken the time off, never been to a doctor's visit or taken the time off. The most that she would do, if my doctor's appointment is in New York City, she will take me to the Amtrak train station in Albany, and that's it. Never take a day off. Even when the surgeries that are major surgeries that I needed someone to go with me, she never did. Even when I gave her a month's notice, because you can't just do a procedure, and you got to they sometimes give you 3-4 weeks, get your stuff in order. She knows all of this, but she's never been to my doctor's appointments. I have been to every doctor's appointments with her for the last 2019 to 2024. That's what, 5 years? Every doctor's appointment, every procedure. Even when she was going through some things with her body, and in 2023, 2024, she said to me, you need to start using protection when we have sex because my body is just going through some things. And I was just like, okay. It made sense what she was saying. But then circle back now to this whole thing of the cheating, and that night we were talking, I said, all right, it's interesting that you're telling me now that you want to live and be by yourself, because let me tell you what has happened since you left. There are a lot of rumors that's talking about you being in places with multiple people and being seen in intimate ways with people, people having their hands rubbing upon you, groping you, and you in places. And I said, your presence cannot be missed because you wear these bright colors, right? People say when you walk in, they can see you because you wear these bright colors. And, so she was like, I don't know what these people are talking about. I don't know the names of these people that are being talked about. So I don't know what you're talking about. People can say whatever they want to say. And I said, well, people can say what they want to say, but you have to understand something, like these are very serious and derogatory things that are being said about you. And even for me as your partner, I feel very offended to hear my partner being called the names that I'm hearing. And she was like, well, I don't know what to tell you because it's not true. And I don't really care. People can say what they want to say. So I was like, okay. But it just did not feel right the way how she responded. And I said, okay. So then she changed the subject and she started asking me about this project that we were working on. This housing development and community project we're working on. We talked about that for a few, and then she was like, that sounds good that you're getting, like the support and you're getting, investors on it and so on. So sounds good. But something just didn't feel right with the way she brushed off this conversation. And so when she fell asleep, I sat there in the bed and I'm looking at her and I'm just like, all right. So I took her phone and I looked in her phone. And I gotta tell you, there was nothing that could prepare me for what I saw. There was nothing that could prepare me for what I saw, because the person that I know as this prim and proper, who is always so cautious about how she carries herself, how she dresses, goes to church, is very adamant about going to church, taking the kids to church. We all got to go to church. God, God, God. The way she dresses, she carries herself in this really nice, really woman, like she really dresses nice. Sometimes I would look at her when she's dressed and I'm like, wow, like really just so wowed by how she looks. But what I saw in those videos and pictures with those people and the timelines and the places, I was like, what the? I sat there for 35 minutes looking at her and asking myself, who is this person? Who is this person? Because this is not the person that I know. Yeah, remember what I said? I knew she does parties. I knew they do the parties and, West Indian parties. If you don't know these West Indian parties on Labor Day and Memorial Weekend, you don't really understand. Like, these are some, people go hard on parties, right? So I know she is a party person, all that. But this one I'm seeing in her own phone, not just somebody else or on social media or something, in her own phone, videos and pictures and text messages and conversations with people. You're in a relationship. You're in a relationship. You're living with a partner who you tell that partner that we are committed and exclusive in this relationship. But here in your phone, I'm seeing years of just you having suggestive conversations and conversations that are very inappropriate for someone who is in a committed relationship with someone, and having other people flirting with you and engaging in that. Plus the way she dressed, and what I saw is night and day to who she is when she's here with us at home. Like a completely different person, right? The dress up, the model, the model style dress up, the model, the glamour, the makeup, it's a whole different person. So as I was looking at that, and then I'm looking at, hold on, this is one person, but this is not the same person. Hold on, this is another person. That is not. Wait. So I'm just like, hold on, how many people? I couldn't process what I was seeing. I couldn't, because I'm trying to figure out, is this the person that I know versus the person that I'm seeing here? What is going on here? And then I started quick, because again, I didn't have a lot of time, but I started quickly. So when you take a picture or a video, when you swipe up, it gets to tell you the timestamp, date, location, all of that stuff. So you flip this picture up, and it's this date. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. Flip this video up. This is a week later with a different person, 2 o'clock in the morning. Pictures again with this person, 10 o'clock. So I'm going through and seeing all these different people, and then I see a message about having unprotected sex with this guy, and you're telling him that it's effed up that you had unprotected sex with him in his car. You're a woman, and you're going to blame the man for having unprotected sex with you. Well, I'm sure he didn't force himself on you, because that would be rape, right? So he didn't force himself on you. So you willingly had sex with him in his car unprotected, and then we're having sex, and then you're telling me as your partner who you're living with that we need to use protection because some things are going on with your body and you don't know what it is. We're going to the OBGYN and you're telling the doctor, I don't know what's going on, my body. We're talking about menopause and premenopause and all these things. But now when I look and see these pictures and videos with all these people that you're sexually active with, and I'm like, this person's 2 weeks ago, this one is a month ago, this one. So within 4 or 5 months, I couldn't go any further. I couldn't look any further. I couldn't look at anything any further. I was just like, I snapped. And I just sat there and I'm trying to process as I'm looking at her. I literally sat there in the bed just looking at her and I'm asking myself, hold on, wait a minute. Like, is this even real? First of all, First of all, forget the health issues. Well, not the health issues. Forget the blood clot issues. We have been going to the OB/GYN for months, and you swear blind to the doctor that you have no idea why or what could be the reason why your body is doing the things that it's doing. And you never thought that maybe it's all these people that you're sexually active with, who you're now sharing energy with and your essence with, that could have been affecting your body. Now, I could not believe what I saw. But that one about the unprotected sex, for me, I just snapped. And I sat there for 35 minutes before she woke up and saw me, and she said, "What are you doing with the phone? Give it to me." And I said to her, very calmly, I said, "Why couldn't you just be honest with me? Why couldn't you be honest with me? I asked you about the rumors that I'm hearing, and I told you what I was hearing, and you told me straight up to my face that it's a lie. You have no idea what these people are talking about and who these people are talking about." Now I look in your phone, not something I'm seeing online, not something that somebody is saying that just saying, but I look in your phone. You have pictures and videos of you being intimate with these people, conversations about unprotected sex, you and I having sex, we're going through the OB with what she jumped up and she was like, Brett, I'm sorry, and just start. So I got up off the bed. Didn't shout, didn't scream, didn't curse at her, didn't touch her, nothing. I got up off the bed. I walked into the corner of the room and I faced the corner of the room and I said, right now, honestly, I don't want to say anything to you because I don't want to hurt you. So just leave me alone. I don't want to hurt you. So just leave me alone. And I stood in the corner of that room for about 5 minutes. Then I went downstairs to the kitchen, left her in the room. Went downstairs to the kitchen and sat there for a minute, and I was just, something snapped inside of me, and I just remember telling myself, Brett, you know how this pain is going to be building up inside of you, and you know how you just don't want to be in that pain. Like, you don't want that pain to trigger you. So I pulled a knife from the kitchen drawer and I sat by the kitchen counter and I just started doing this. I just sat there and I just started doing this. She comes down to the top of the stairs and she's calling me Brett, and I didn't say anything. And then when I heard her coming down the stairs, and she the staircase coming down, there's an open space, you can look into the hallway that comes into the kitchen, and she's standing there calling me, and I said, you know what, please just leave me alone. Do not come down here. Please just leave me alone, okay? You just don't know how I'm feeling right now, and I just please just stop calling me, leave me alone. So I'm there maybe 30, 40, going, and then she comes around the corner, sees me, and say, oh my God, bro, what are you doing? Oh my God, what are you doing? Give me the knife, give me the knife. And I just didn't even look at her. I just kept like, and then she started seeing blood on my wrist and panicked and called 911. Now, I didn't even realize that at the time I had her phone, because my thing is, I was going to say like, who is this? Who is this? Like, what is this? And point those things out clearly to her. So this is not a myth. This is not a rumor. Like, here it is, the same person, the same. So when I left the room and I had the phone, I didn't realize that. So she went to call 911, and she had to go upstairs and use one of the kids' phone to call 911. 911 comes, the guy comes, he's standing at the front door. At the front door, there's a straight line into the kitchen for the walkway. The guy, he knocks on the door. He said, what's happened? She said, my boyfriend is trying to kill himself. And he's like, does he have a weapon? She said, no, but he has a knife. So he asked her my name. She tells him my name. He's standing here. He's calling me from outside the door. He said, Brett, can I talk to you for a minute? Can I see you? And I said, sure. And he's like, what's going on? And I said, nothing. I'm just, right now I'm just not in a good mood. I'm just not I'm just going through a lot right now. So he said, all right, can you come in line so I could see you? So I walked into the pathway and he saw me and he said, is it okay for me to come in? He asked me if he could come in. I could have told him no. I had no reason to tell him that he could come in, but because I didn't see anything that was wrong or anything that. So I told him yes, he could come in. So he comes in, he walks into the kitchen. He tells me that, he asked me, he said, do you have any weapons on you? I heard you had a knife. And I said, yeah, in the kitchen. I'm in the kitchen, there's a lot of knives. He said, do you, are you hurting yourself? Did you hurt yourself? And I was like, what do you mean? He said, can you turn around? So I turned around. He said, I need you to put your hands behind your head and I need you to get down on the floor. I said, all right, fine. So I put my hand behind my head and I got down on the floor. He said, I'm going to have to pat you down to make sure there's no weapons. And I said, sure. So he did that. And then when he did that, I was sitting there on the floor. And while he was doing that, I was compliant. I was coherent. I did not resist. I didn't say anything to him that it was me in any kind of way being aggressive to him. Nothing at any point during that. Then he says to me, I'm going to handcuff you. And I said, you're going to handcuff me for what? I am not being aggressive. I'm not resisting you. I'm not giving you any issues. What? Handcuff me for what? He said, for your safety and mine, I have to handcuff you. When he put the handcuff on me, I had my watch on. So when he put the handcuff on me, the fact that he put the handcuff on me was just very dehumanizing. I felt like the whole spirit left my body when he did that. I've never been handcuffed before. I felt my whole spirit just leave my body and I just started crying. Then when he put the handcuff on, he put the handcuff over the watch, so it was very tight. It was hurting me, and I said, sir, you're hurting me. My hand is you're hurting me. And he said, what? I said, you put the handcuff over the watch and you're squeezing. I cried like a baby. I've never been handcuffed. Now I'm being handcuffed. Being handcuffed because of what I went through and did not act out aggressively, speak aggressively, or act violently. But this is what I feel like I was being punished. And so when he did that and I just started crying, another officer came, a female officer came. And he was like, what happened? And he said, do you want to stand up? And I said, yes, please. He said, can you stand up? I said, my body is completely shot. I can't, there's no life in my body. So they both lift me up. He asked me what happened. I said, I just found out she's cheating. I've been taking care of this woman literally taking care of this woman for the last 5-6 years, just caring for her, loving her, never disrespected her, never cheated on her, no abusive, nothing. And I just found out she's been cheating on and lied about it. He said, sir, listen, I don't know. I've never been through something like this, but I can tell you something. The fact that you are the way you are right now tells me that you are a really strong person. Yeah, you're a really strong person. And guess what? You're going to get over this. You're going to get over this. He said, right now, this is just in a moment, and you will get past this. And I said, thank you for that. Thank you for that. And he was like, all right, man, here's what we're going to do. We're going to have to take you to the psych ED. And I said, take me to the psych ED for what? I don't have you're not seeing anything here that would warrant that. He said, well, there was a call about suicidality. There was a call about, this whole thing. And we just want to make sure that you're safe. So I have to take you in. And I said to him, well, I don't want to go to that because I don't see a need for that. But he said, well, it's a policy to do that. While I was standing there, 3 drops of blood fell from my arm. Because remember, as I said, I was cutting, but there weren't deep cuts. There weren't anything about cutting, vein or stuff, but it was just. And then he looked and he said, well, all right, well, thank God that's not that bad and that's not serious, but you did self-harm, so we're gonna have to take you. And I just started crying again. I was just like, how am I being punished for something that I didn't do, but I'm clearly hurting by? And it was just, I was just crying. So he called and the ambulance came. They had to take me out, and I didn't even know what I was feeling at that point, because all I kept asking myself, well, how is it, what did I do for this to be happening? What did I do? And it just couldn't make any sense. But I say, you know what, God, just give me the strength. Just give me. I remember just saying to God, I know there's a greater purpose. I know you're trying to show me something. There's a greater purpose. So let me. Ambulance came. They put me in a chair. The guy comes up to me, the EMS guy. He's like, took my information. He said, how are you feeling? What happened? I told him. He's like, oh my God, sir, I'm so sorry. Like, I can't even imagine what you're going through. So they take me to the psych ED. The psych ED is an ED that I have gone to take people off that psych ward who were suicidal or had suicidality behaviors. So I'm familiar with them. When I got there, they're like, you have to take your clothes off and put these scrubs on. I was like, oh my God, are you serious? Like, really? I felt the little dignity that I had, the little dignified thing that I had is now being taken from me. I was handcuffed and I was now taken to an ED. Now you want me. Took my clothes off again. No, not being belligerent, not being aggressive, not being anything, just following procedures, following directives. So they said, somebody's going to come and do your assessment. So I sat there for about 25 minutes and this guy comes up. He says he's a head psychiatrist for the ED for the night. And he asked me what happened. And I told him, and I showed him my wrist. And I said, listen, you know, I was hurting, man. I was so hurt. I didn't even know what to do. But the one thing I kept saying to myself is, I don't want to hurt her. 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 And he said, listen, for you to have retained your composure and not done anything to her, and what I'm seeing here, this is not the place for you. He said, you are not someone who is out of your emotions or out of control. You know, you went through something very traumatic, because I'm sure just seeing those pictures and all of those intimate things she was doing and the unprotected sex and all. He said, this is not the place for you, so I'm going to discharge you. He said, but another clinician is going to come to do a second evaluation, and then if they agree, then we'll discharge you. 15 minutes later, 10-15 minutes later, because it was right after he left, she comes and she's like, you know, I'm a clinical social worker, you know, I need to do this assessment, tell me what happened, how you're feeling. So I told her, and she was like, oh my God, I can't even imagine what you're feeling right now. Seeing all of that, multiple people, unprotected sex, while you're taking care, you're stressed out and worried over her and always in a heightened anxiety when she's in pain and she's driving and she's coming home, and you have to do all these things for her, take care of her and all those things. I can't even imagine what you're feeling. She said, I agree, this is not the place for you, because you're not someone who we would consider high risk. You're not someone we even consider a risk. I mean, looking at your arm, like, these are not self-harm to die injuries. This is someone who you clearly were showing that you'd rather just take that pain to relieve your pain than to hurt this person who you still hold feelings for. And she was like, yeah, we're gonna get you out of here. So she's like, we're gonna send you home. And no, she asked me, do you have somewhere else to go? And I told her no, I don't have anywhere else to go. So send me home. But then she said she's going to call my partner and tell her that I'm being discharged, that I'm coming home. They can't keep me because I'm not high risk or risk at all. They don't see any reason why I need to be in the psych ED or admitted. And so they're going to send me home. And so she said, what we're going to do is call her and let her know that if she feels uncomfortable with you being home, then that's on her. If something happens, she can call 911. to let them know that there is an issue. But other than that, we cannot keep you and we have to send you home because that's your home. But we'll tell her that she can remove the knives from the kitchen if that makes her feel safe. I said, all right, fine. They asked, do you have a way to get home? I said, no, because I was brought here by ambulance. She said, all right, we'll get you an Uber to take you home. So she gets me an Uber to take me home. I get home. I go in the basement, and I'm in the basement. I'm sitting there, and I just broke down. I broke down, and I cried. I cried in a way I've never cried before. I cried in a way for a pain that I've never felt before. I cried in a way that was just, it was a pain that I couldn't even express. But here's the one thing that I found in that moment of crying, one thing that gave me comfort, one thing that helped the pain to not be as bad as the pain is. What I felt was pity, because I felt so bad for her, and I felt so sad for her. Here you are living with a man who's literally taking care of you, caring for you. I mean, caring for you in every way. Your health challenges, you're keeping up with your health, you're all helping you with your job, your work, your roles, responsibility, raising your 2 sons, taking care of our property and making sure and doing all these things to make all. Here's a man who has loved you even when you are not even giving me the time of day. You don't spend time with me. You never took time to go to my appointments with me. You never take time to spend with me. You didn't even say to me, Brett, you know, you really are a good man. You stayed at the hospital through all my procedures. You took me home. You lifted me up, carried me on your back, lift me up, take me to the all these places. You feed me. And you never said after any one of your procedures, let me take you out. Let me do something special for you as thank you. But now I look in your phone and I see right after you started feeling better, after those 6 weeks and those different health things, you went straight to New York City and you were screwing around with these people and you were just having the time of your life while I am up here stressed and worried about you, to the point where my health was so bad. My health was so bad. When I told the doctors, when I tell you I had over 60 health appointments in 2023 and 24, and my body felt like it was falling apart. I have 12 health conditions. It was the stress from all of what, and there was this demonic energy that was on me that was breaking my body down. My body was breaking down. And now I know why. It was because of what she was doing. Whatever she caught, whatever demonic energy was within those people that she was sleeping with and sexually active with, whatever she caught, now it was impacting me. My body was tearing apart. When the doctors asked me how I feel, that's exactly what I told them. For the last 2 years, my body felt like it was tearing apart. Something was ripping my body apart, and now I know why. But as I said, what I felt for her was pity, because when I looked at some of those pictures and the conversations, she couldn't even go to. I remember one of the conversations, she went to one of the guy's house, and he couldn't let her in because he had another woman in there. She had to use the restroom. He couldn't let her in to use the restroom. She was outside. She had to pee outside because and then she cursing at him and saying all different. And I was just like, oh my God. And then as I'm looking at these conversations, you got dumped by this one. You were being labeled and called, people are calling you an easy sex, like you were so easy to get. These guys are laughing and spreading your name on how easy it was to sleep with you, degrading your name. And I just felt this pity. For her. And that's what helped the pain that I was feeling. Because as much as it hurt me that she did that, I was even more like, how degrading it is for you to stoop that low, to give yourself like a rag doll to these people, and then have them turn around and publicly laughing at you and all that. That's what helped me through the pain. is I felt pity for her. I felt very bad for her, because you know what? You were never short of love. You were never short of care. I don't think they know the life-threatening health issues you have going on. And so I'm looking at it like you literally gave your life away to people who literally had no value for you, didn't think highly of you. All they wanted from you was just this sexual thing, and they got it, and then they turn around and they were out there living you as an easy sex, easy F word, and how, you know, cheap and easy you are to get, and how you were just so. And as a partner, those things were to make me feel good hearing you be called like that. But anyway, as I said, when I got home, I stayed in the basement. I cried. I had to go use the bathroom upstairs. There's no bathroom in the basement. I used the bathroom upstairs. And I said to her, I said, you know what? I forgive you. I forgive you. I forgive you. And I hope that you find, you know, this is what you really wanted, because, you know, we're done. But I don't want you to feel like, you know, I forgive you. I don't want you to feel like you have to carry this, but I forgive you, because I'm not going to carry it with me. And I went back downstairs in the basement, and I just cried until I fell asleep. The next morning, I heard boom, boom, boom sounds on the stairs. Next thing I saw, her with her 2 kids, suitcases, she packed and she left. She never said anything to me. I never told her she had to leave or she had to go. A couple of days later, no communication, nothing. A couple of days later, she comes back. She brings the little one because he needed some school supplies. So he came to get some school supplies. She's sitting in the car. I went outside. I stood about 5 feet from the car, and I said, I don't remember what I said to her, but she was like, I can't afford to be living somewhere else and paying for somewhere else and be paying for here too. And I said, I didn't tell you to leave. I didn't tell you to leave. Right? As a matter of fact, I told you, I said, the house is big enough. There are 2 restrooms, there are 5 bedrooms. Like, you and your kids can stay on that side of the house, and I'll take what was our room that had a bathroom on this side of the house. We are done. But we both need somewhere to live, and we both need to settle whatever we have. Right? So I said that to her. Despite everything that happened, I said that to her, because why would I? Well, not why. Some people would have done that, but I didn't see that that was needed for us to be separated out of the house while all this is happening. So I immediately said to her, she said, I don't feel safe around you because you said that you didn't want to hurt me. So you hurt yourself because you didn't want to hurt me. So I don't feel safe around you. And I said, well, that doesn't make any sense, because if I wanted to hurt you, then I would have hurt you. So you're mad at me for not hurting you and hurting myself because I said I didn't want to hurt you. I said, did you think about the fact that while you were having sex with all these people, that you could have caught something very, very life-threatening on top of the life-threatening thing you have going on already? You could have caught something life-threatening that could have affected both of us. You know, I've been in the hospitals. I've been through hell. I've been going through hell with my body for the last 2 years. You're going through it for the last 5-6 years. So we both have serious health issues. And you didn't think that by having sex, and unprotected sex, with so many STDs, STIs going around, that we could have both been going through something. She never said anything. So few days later, I'm home, and so I'm on this medication because of my headaches. I have seizure-like headaches. When my headaches come on, it's like my head feels like 1,000 pounds. I can't sleep. I can't, like I'm literally on the ground in a seizure. And I have this medication my neurologist gave me that will help me to reduce the headaches and also help me to sleep. Mind you, 2 times in August 2024, I had seizures, and one time I was laying in the bed like moaning and crying, and she left and went to work, leaving me on the bed in that position, and left and went to work. When I asked her about it, she said, I came to you, I was asking if you're okay. I said, you came to me asking me if I'm okay, but you know that when I have these headaches, I can't even hear anything, I can't see anything. I have a red letter, a red notice on the door in the garage and at the front door that says, attention EMS. If you are called for me when you come here, I can't see you, I can't hear you. Do not try to have a conversation with me, because the way my headache is, my vision, my hearing, my head, I can't hear. So just take me to the emergency room, they'll know what to do. I've been at Albany Med emergency room so many times, they know the exact cocktail that I need when I come into the emergency room. That's how bad and how often I've been to the emergency room. And she's never been with me. She left me on the bed in a fetal position with a seizure and went to work. 2 weeks later, same thing happened. This time, I was, when the previous seizure, the doctor said to me, if you can get a cold compress, get a cold rag, and you put that rag on your head, as cold as you can get it. The bed is 30 feet from the door, right? King size. In case you've had issues reaching our the bed is 30 feet away from the bathroom. So when the headache came on and I was in, and I remember what the doctor said, my first thought was, let me get the cold compress. She was in the bathroom taking a shower, so she didn't hear and didn't see. When she opened the bathroom door and she looked, I was on the floor crawling towards the bathroom, 30 feet. I'm crawling from the bed to get to the bathroom. And it was, she opened the door and she saw me and she said, are you okay? And all I could do, and I couldn't do anything, but all I could do was this. And she's like, do you want me to lift you up? And I just did like this. Do you want me to? And I said, I just need to get to the bathroom. I'm on the floor and I crawled into the bathroom. I went up, I dragged one of my rags off of the wall, and I put my hand up and turned the pipe on, got the rag with water and put the water. She said she needed to use the bathroom because she has to go to work. So I crawled out of the bathroom on the floor, and I was laying there with this cold compress on my head. And she asked me if I'm okay. I don't know how you're gonna ask somebody if they're okay when you clearly see them in that position and hear them crying like in pain. Plus, you know that. And then she left. She left and left me on the floor. Second time in a month. She left me on the floor, went to work, didn't even call, didn't even check on me. And I was like, you know what? It's okay. So yes, she went to court. She filed a restraining order and said in the restraining order that I told her that I would kill myself if she left me. She said that I've been a menace. She said that when she came back from this trip that she went on, I was attacking her and being very, whatever. She couldn't make out what I was saying. I was talking a whole bunch of gibberish about people that I was accusing her of all of that. She said in the restraining order that I held her hostage, that I cut myself in front of her trying to kill myself, and that she had to clean up all of this blood on the floor before her kids came downstairs and saw that. She went into a whole thing about me and all of that. That's what she did when she went to file the restraining order. I went to court. When the court date came, I went to court. So when they came to serve, real quick, I forgot that. When they came to serve the papers, I had taken my medication. I was upstairs starting to drift off into sleep. I heard somebody calling, but I wasn't sure what was going on. And then all I heard was, Brett Scudder, you need to come downstairs. So I jumped up, I got out of the bed, and I walked to the top of the stairs. I looked downstairs. It was a sheriff. And he said, sir, you need to come downstairs. And I came downstairs, and he said, you're being served a restraining order and you have to leave the premises. It was 10:30 that night, October 28th. And he said, you have to leave the premises because you're being served. And I looked at the restraining order. I looked what's on the restraining order, and I was like, wow, okay. So I said to the officer, sir, like, you came, I'm just like going to bed. So one of the officers pointed to the sign on the door, and he said, sir, are you okay? Because, you know, we see the sign on the door that says, attention EMS. If you come here for me, you know, I can't. He said, sir, are you okay? I mean, that sounds very serious. I said, yes, I have some very serious health issues. And he said, all right, we'll give you some time. We understand this is unexpected. This is going to be hard for you. And we recognize by that note that you have some serious health issues. So we'll give you some time. So they gave me some time. All I could do was grab 2 suitcases, throw some stuff into the suitcases. I didn't know how much time I was going to be away, but I noticed on the restraining order, it said the court date is in November to come to court, Grab 2 suitcases. Then I had to figure out, holy crap, where am I going to go? I don't know where I'm going to go. So one of my neighbors, when we just moved across, a neighbor across the street had just lost, you know, her husband. She was going through a lot of things. I was able to, you know, support her, comfort her through the process, let her know the work that I do. So we became good friends. She was the only person that I could think of, and she's been to our house. We've, you know, had times together, good time. You know, she was a friend. I called her and I said, hey, I've just been served a restraining order and I have to leave and I have nowhere to go. Could you please put me up for the night, or, you know, just pick me up, because I'm like, I don't know. She's like, oh my God, don't worry about it, I'll come get you. This was 11 o'clock at night. She comes, she gets me. She was just like, whoa. She was just like, whoa. And all I said to her was like, and I just, so she put me up for about a week. And then some other things were going on. So that was November 28th. The restraining order was served. And from November 28th straight through to January, I was not able to go home. 2 weeks after the restraining order, I asked one of the neighbors across the street, this new neighbor who had moved in about a year ago. We were also close. I asked him to go to the house, and there is the dehumidifier in the basement, because I've done a lot of work cleaning that basement up. Mold, mildew, was bad. Took me about 6 months to clean that basement up. So I didn't even remember about the dehumidifier. So I asked him, and I texted him, and I said, can you just go over to the house and just let them know that you're here to empty the bucket? Because if the bucket is not empty, mold and mildew is going to build up in the house. And, you know, we did a lot of work to remediate that mold and mildew. It would be, you know, again, I'm not thinking of, you know, this is a long-term stay away. So I'm still thinking about the important things that need to be done. So he goes to the house, he knocks on the door. He said that, you know, he told them that he's there. Brett said to empty the bucket and to show you how to do that, because it needs to be emptied very frequently. So he did. Then he came back. He said, all right, I went over to the house. You know, she was there, and I showed her what to do, and she said, thank you. I said, all right, good, thank you. So at least that I got off of my mind. Next thing you know, I got a notice of violation of the restraining order, stating that I asked the neighbor to go over to the house and to do something at the house. And that was her filing the violation of the restraining order. Now, a violation of the restraining order means that if you did violate the restraining order, you would be arrested, because you violated. A restraining order is just like, you're not supposed to communicate anything. So she filed that I violated a restraining order. I called her mother after the whole incident in October, when I found out about the cheating, and we had the whole thing in the emergency room. I told her mother, I said, I'm just letting you know that our relationship is over, so you hear it from me. So if and when she's with you and down there, whatever she's doing down there, well, you know, that's she's allowed, she can do whatever she wants to do now. And her mother gave me a 20-minute curse out. 20 minutes curse out. And I just sat there on the phone and I just listened, and I said, all right, thank you very much. All I did was call you to tell you that this is where we are. She also added that to the restraining order, that I called her mother and I was menacing to her mother and I was being disrespectful to her mother and all of that. 2 things on the restraining order violation. From January to June, 6 months, session is in. So I was already working on some statewide projects that would require me to be at the Capitol. So I had the first court date in November. The judge decided, all right, sir, you're going to have an extended stay away in this restraining order, and a trial date is set for January. You will be allowed one day to go to the house to get whatever you need, and then when you come back for the trial in January, we'll decide on how this will be. When I went to the court date in November, I brought text messages, voicemails, emails, videos of the lies that were in the restraining order, and how that was just one side of the story. Here's the whole story. There was even video. I remember, I forgot, when I came in from the emergency room about a day or two later, I was looking at the video because we have a smart device, a hub in the kitchen, and the camera was on because it was night. The camera was on, and so it recorded a conversation between her and the police officer. When the police officer asked her, she said, "What happened? What caused him to be like this? What caused him to do what he did?" She said, "Well, I was away, and when I came back, he looked in my phone and he saw that I was cheating on him, and that's what triggered him. That's what caused him to do that." She was like, "Did he hurt you? Did he hurt you? Do you think he would hurt you?" She said, "No, he wouldn't hurt me. He loves me. He wouldn't hurt me. But I'm worried about my kids, because my kids being in here to see something like this was not what." So I have the video with that, and I brought that too, because the police report does not say anything about her. All that's in the police report, and this is how I found out about the police report. All that's in the police report is her name, that she called 911 and saying that her boyfriend is trying to kill himself. They came, they saw that I had injured myself, and I was taken to the emergency room. That's all that was in the police report. She filed a request for the police report, got the police report, and sent the police report out to people, stating and showing that I was emotionally unstable, that there's something wrong with me. I tried to kill myself. And that's what she was sending around the police report. How did I know she was the one doing it? Because when she got the police report, it had the form as the first page of who requested it, and then the police report. That's how, when it was brought to my attention that, "Brett, your name is being circulated here with this police report about some self-injury thing that happened at your house." She did that. Why would she want to do that? What purpose would it serve for you to be sending that private thing that went on with us out to people? You're trying to slander me. What are you trying to do to my name and reputation by sending that out? What if I was to send out the videos and text messages and pictures of you with all these people? Do you think that would have been right for me to do that? Do you think that would have been ethical or proper for me to do that? No, this is our private life. This is our private business. So why would you be sending out this thing to slander my name and discredit my name and reputation because of what happened? But then it clicked on me, and it dawned on me as to when she filed the restraining order, it was now of her way. Again, the system is very biased against men. Men, we're always considered the abuser. We're always considered the aggressor. We're always considered the victimizer. And so now she's playing into this narrative that me being of unsound mind to hurt myself is this history that we've had, where she talked in a restraining order that I've told her that I would kill myself if she tried to break up with me, which I've never done that. Because in the last 2 years, which she talked about, she's trying to break up with me in the last 2 years. Just remember, you were hospitalized 3 times. You had 2 critical surgeries that you were home for 6 weeks. Who took care of you? Who was with you through those whole 3 procedures? And through the whole time of all of that, I have documentations and proof of a lot of interactions between us, right? What she did, and I found out when looking in her phone, is that she took one side, and I'll give you an example of what she did. When I was in the basement, I moved in the basement because my headaches were so bad that I was afraid that when emergency services come, to go up 2 flights of stairs or go up the 2 stairs to the bedroom would be so much, or even for me to come downstairs. So what I did was I set up a bed in the basement, and I was staying most of the time in the basement, especially when my headaches, when I really know that my headache was building up or my body was starting to get to that point. I would lay down day or night, it doesn't matter, day or night. I went by how I was feeling. And she came down to the basement one day, one morning, and she was trying to be intimate, and I was just like, I'm not in the mood. I'm not in the mood. My body is not even reacting to you like that. You've not been helping me when I'm going through my struggles. I'm going through my health. I've taken care of you through every step of the process of everything you're going through. There were nights I've woken you up in that bed and says, babe, my head is hurting me. My head is hurting me. Can you get me some water? Can you get me a towel, a cold rag or something? Nights that and she would just be like, leave me alone, leave me alone. I'm tired. I need to sleep. I got to go to work. Leave me alone. Many nights. And you know that my health is that serious with these headaches. And not even to say, all right, let me get you a cold rag. But when you were sick and all your procedures, whether carrying you, cooking for you, caring for you, massaging your legs, everything that I could do for you, even when I was hurting and I was struggling, nothing. I had a broken arm right here, 22 stitches in this arm right here, a broken bone and a whole bunch of pins and staples. I had to go to that procedure. She didn't come with me. The procedure was scheduled 6 weeks ahead. I told her that I was going to have the procedure. I told her the day. I told her full anesthesia. They would not release me with some. She didn't take the day off. She didn't take the time off. It was her mother who came to relieve me. And I had to stay with her mother for a day or two in the city. You've never supported me through this whole time of my health, while I'm always there for you with everything that you need. And then you expected me to just be. So I looked and I noticed in her phone that she sent the message, because I sent her a message. I said, I'm sorry that my body was just not responding to you like that. There's so much that has happened, and my body is just not responding to you like that. I'm sorry. And she said, well, going forward, I will never approach you like that again. And I said, okay. Because as far as I was concerned, you didn't even care about my well-being. I was just serving you when you wanted me, whatever you wanted from me, but you were never really. But then she came back afterwards, about a couple of days later, and she said, you know what? I'm sorry. I'm not an emotional person, and I've told you multiple times I'm not an emotional person. But I don't want to lose you, because I don't know what I would do without you. You're the one that, you're the one that really so it was always about her. And the way she explained it is always about her. Even when she accused me of taking the money that we had to do whatever she said it was. And I was like, you're accusing me of stealing your money when everything that I have is in this house and property? What would I be doing the money? I emptied my retirement and savings to pay down on this house. So everything I have is invested in this house. Yeah, she accused me of stealing her money, using her money for whatever. I'm just like, wow. So then I said, if that's how you feel, then I guess we just need to sell the house and we just go our own ways. And she was like, yep, let's do that. And that was back in 2024. Sense came back to her, I guess. I don't know what came back to her, but then she came back and she was like, you know what? We need to do some projects. Let's work on the house together. I'll work on the bathroom, I'll pee in the bathroom, And I'm just like, but didn't you say that we wanted to get, she's like, well, I was upset, Okay. That's how it's always been with her. But here's where it gets even worse. What she does is she takes the bad side, the bad messages of what happened between me and her, and she sends it to people. And she portrays this picture of me like I'm a very bad man, I'm very ungrateful, I don't take care of her, and I'm stealing her money, and I'm not intimately involved with her. We're not intimate, because those are some of the things that I saw in her phone that she was doing. So when the restraining order was filed, and I said, oh my God, how could, it clicked in my head that when what I saw, she always plays the victim. She always plays the victim. She will take a message and the bad part of the message, leave out the beginning, how you created this problem, you started this conversation, you did this, but then you'll take my response and you'll send it to people. That's one of the things she did with one of the people that she was sleeping with, convincing this person that she and I are not intimate because I'm in the basement and she's upstairs in bed by herself. Now, I'm your man and I'm your partner. For the last 5-6 years, I've been taking care of you in every way that possible with your health. And I'm downstairs in pain with my struggles, and you upstairs in bed sending people naked pictures of your private parts and convincing them that you are not intimate with me. And I'm downstairs suffering and struggling. Even when I called 911, you didn't even know 911 come to the house. You didn't even know that I went to the emergency room because I didn't want to bother you, because it wouldn't have made any difference anyway. All the other nights and all the 100 times that I've told you at nights that I was in so much pain and I need your help, and all you did was you tell me to leave you alone. You need to sleep. You need to sleep. Or you will roll over, put your hand on me and say, go to sleep. How do you expect me to go to sleep if I'm in so much pain? So I sit up at nights by myself in pain in that bed. And you wake up in the morning and you go to work and there's no concern for you. That's been the consistency for the last 2 years of my struggles. While for the last 6 years, I've been taking care of you, even when I'm going through my own struggles. So she filed a restraining order, removed me from home, changed the internet service at home. So my remote access to work on my computers from home I couldn't do because she changed the internet. So one day when the judge allowed me to come to get my stuff from the house, I called the internet company and I said I need a second account for the basement office so that I could do my work. When the guy came that day, she told the guy that he cannot install the internet service. Remember, this is our house together, both of us. We're both on the deed and the mortgage. This is our house together. And she told the guy that he cannot install the internet for me to get access to my work computers. And so I couldn't work. I was not able to work for a whole month, November, December, January, 2 months. So that affected my ability to work, to have income. Okay, remember I have a restraining order. I couldn't get to the house. Couldn't go to the house, couldn't be anywhere around her. When the judge allowed me to go to the house, the one day when I went and I was trying to get the stuff, because of what she did, she triggered a massive headache and I ended up in the emergency room. And that was the one day the judge allowed me to. So for 8 months, I have not been to my house. I have no, all my 90% of the stuff that I have is still in that house. 95% of the stuff in that house I bought with my money. Because remember, like I said, she was paying the higher portion of the mortgage, but I was the one who furnished that house. There were three things in that house that she's bought: the beds for the 2 boys and a TV stand. Everything else in that house, furniture, appliances, all them things, all the technology equipment, and all, I was the one who paid for all of that. So she removed me from our home after finding out that she was cheating on me and all the stuff that she did. And she went to court and filed a restraining order of lies, which violates, there is a law, the New York law. I'm going to tell you the New York law, Penal Law 210.45. Lying on a restraining order application can lead to criminal charges, most commonly for perjury or making punishable false written statements. Depending on the specifics and severity of the false statements, these charges can range from a Class A misdemeanor up to a year in jail to a felony up to 7 years in prison, along with fines and penalties. It also says that lying on a restraining order, if it is being used as a way of being against a person to hurt somebody, that could also look up New York Penal Law 210.45, and it talks about the whole thing of criminality about lying on a restraining order. I had the proof. I walked into court with the proof, and neither my judge nor my lawyer looked at any of the proof. The November court date, which was given a trial date in January 2025, my lawyer, court-appointed lawyer, showed up to the October hearing 5 minutes before the hearing and told me he did not get a chance to look at the case. He doesn't know the details of the case. So when he goes into the courtroom, he's going to try and see if we could get an extension on it. When he went into the courtroom and he said to the judge, Your Honor, I did not get a chance to read the order of protection because I couldn't understand the writing. The judge said, you couldn't understand the writing? Let me read it out to you. And he read out what was on the restraining order. And my lawyer sat there and never said a word to the judge that, Your Honor, my client has proof in emails, text messages, and videos of the lies that are in this restraining order. Never said anything. So he agreed to a trial date. So at trial, we would have been able to present these things. But then when she filed the restraining order violation, my lawyer said, even if you have the evidence that she lied on the restraining order, the judge will cite you and hold you in contempt and could lock you up for a violation of the restraining order. That you sent this person to the house and that you called her mother and was whatever. From January till now, I've not been to my house. My life has literally started over. My life has literally started over from this whole process. 90% of my stuff is still at the house. Very sentimental things for my children and my mother is at the house. I don't even worry about a lot of the other things. I just want the sentimental things from my mother. My mother passed away 26 years ago. There are some sentimental things in that house. There are some things for my children in that house. So, thank God the last couple of months, I have been bouncing from Airbnbs, cheap motels, and rooms. I've been bouncing around. I cannot have steel housing. I can't change my address because I'm in a different place every week or every other week. The longest place that I had stayed up to this point was a month in a rented room. And to change your address, I can't do that because I work from home. My business is at that address. Changing my business address and everything that we do with in terms of funding and all that, changing that address is a whole nightmare situation. So I couldn't change my address. So 9 months of mail sitting at the house, and she would not even say, well, I know your mail is coming here. Let me try and at least give somebody the mail to give to you because your mail is important. All these mails are stacked up here, and she has not even said, let me try and help you to get what do you need from the house? I've been with this person for 8 years, caring for this person for 8 years. Been through so much with this person for 8 years, and this is how you treat me, right? And now it's like God said to me one day, I woke up and God said to me, because I finally got this room, and I thought that this would have been a place that I would at least spend a couple of months. But then there's a whole bunch of other things going on. So again, another short-term stay. God said to me, Brett, let go and let me. Let go and let me. I woke up with that same thing in my head for about a week, 2 weeks. In May. And it was one day when I was about to move again, and I realized what God was saying to me in that moment. And you know what? I said, God, I get it. I finally understand and I get it. So I sent her an email and I said, I am relinquishing my part in the property. There's $130,000, between $100,000 to $130,000 in equity in the house. So I said, I'm relinquishing my portion of the property over to you so that we can be done with this whole process and we have no further need to be in communication with each other again. None. And I sent her that email and I said, get your legal people together, do whatever it is that you need to do and let me know. I do have a request though. My request is, can you put my mail together in a package, just put them in a bag or whatever, and drop them off at this friend's house for me, who will then be able to get it. I've been so afraid to go to anywhere near that area where we live, because everybody told me, she said when she filed the restraining order, she was trying to get you arrested. Everybody said that to me. She was trying to get you arrested. This woman is trying to destroy you, not just physically or psychologically, but also she's trying to get you locked up, which would be criminal, which would be a whole bunch of criminal things. It's bad enough that your name is in the judicial system with this type of thing, but she's also taking it, trying to take it to a whole nother level. Everybody has told me that. I've shown people the restraining order, because I was working at the Capitol for January to June during session. So I was working on some statewide mental health and health, legislation. And, something just said to me, Brett, you're here with these people. They're, every single one of them has a legislative director who is a lawyer or some prosecutor, somebody who's had legal, studies and, and so I told a couple of them, I said, hey, let me run this by you real quick. Here's what happened. And I said, this is the restraining order. This is what's said on the restraining order. Here is the video of what happened that night when the police came. Here's what she said. Here are email communications and all these things between me and her. So they were like, but you guys sound like you were still in a relationship. I said, of course we were. I was under the impression from the communications that we were still intimately in a relationship. We had dinner, we were traveling, she wanted us to do different things. Here is she talking about how she's looking forward to us traveling and doing all these things. And while she's doing that, simultaneously living that other life. But there are 3 prosecutors at the Capitol working for different legislators who told me, the fact that you asked your neighbor to go to the house to empty that bucket is not a threat to her or anything to her. So that is not a violation. The fact that you called her mother to tell her mother and her mother went off on you and all of that stuff, that is not a violation. None of those incidents were you telling anyone to do anything to her, to curse her out, to attack her, to do anything to her. So how your lawyer did not understand that? How come your lawyer did not realize that these were not offenses that would have warranted a violation of the order? Everybody was just like, it just not making any sense. I showed them the restraining order with what she has documented on it. I showed them the proof of the letters, messages, text messages, and videos and all these different things. And the two of them is just completely separate. Everybody's asking, how did she walk out of court with a restraining order, have a court date, and still neither the judge nor your lawyer said that this was not right? So when we were supposed to have the trial date in January 11, 2025, my lawyer says to me a day or two before, he said, listen, let's take a plea deal, take a 2-year stay away, and they will drop the potential charges of the violation against you. That's what my lawyer came up with. 2-year stay away, agreed to a 2-year stay away from my own home. Well, she and I are done. There's no way in hell having anything with her. But that's still my home. My stuff is still there. All of my stuff is still there. And she's not even allowing me to get that. She cheated on me, lied on me, put my whole physical and psychological health and wellness in crisis, because guess what happened? As of January 2025, all the health issues I was having, the headaches, the seizures, the whole thing of my body falling apart, as of January 2025, I no longer have those symptoms. None. It happened for October, November, and December after the whole restraining order thing. But no more. No more. So what do you think happened? What do you think was happening? I've talked about it in my work a lot when I talk about energy and how important it is to understand emotions, our energy, and how energy within us can be a powerful thing that can cause health issues. I've been doing this 20 years. I've been talking about this for over 20 years. That we don't look at health from the perspective of emotions and how our emotional health can cause physical and all kinds of aches, pains, and suffering. And this is the example of that. Perfect example of that. For 2 years, I've been going through hell. My body has been ripped apart, tearing apart. My headaches, my teeth, my jaw, my vision changed. I wasn't wearing glasses. Now I had to wear glasses. My body went through hell. And now that we've broken up, now I'm away from her. Now my body has now come back to this place of peace. I've not been to the emergency room in 6 months. I've not had a seizure headache in 6 months. I've not had any of the critical chronic pain symptoms that I've had in 6 months. The only thing that I could say is, from a psychological perspective, I thank God that the pain, I didn't allow the pain to become anger. I didn't allow the pain to become despair. I didn't allow the pain to become violent. I struggled and suffered. The only thing I have not lost in the last 9 months is my sanity. Believe me when I tell you, the only thing I have not lost, I've been scammed 3 times trying to get an apartment. I have been victimized by multiple people. I have been in an environment where I felt we were triggered through PTSD because of some kind of violent behavior or tendency. I have been through hell in the last 9 months as my entire life got upended by a partner who, for the last 6-7 years, I have literally been carrying this person's health and wellness in my hands, taking very gentle, loving care of her. And this is what she done. Why would you be smearing my name? Why would you be sending the police report out to discredit me and to show people and to tell people that I am mentally unwell? Why would you be taking this personal and private information and sending it out? As I said, I never sent out the information, all the pictures, videos, and text messages I have of you. I didn't. That's our private life and our private business. Why would I want to do that? Okay, so 9 months, and I had to ask God for permission to do this, because now here's what's coming out of what happened. So I proposed this legislation called the Scudder Restraining Order and Victims Re-Victimization and Re-Traumatization Act. I highlighted in the key legislation points: if a restraining order is to be served, it should be in front of a judge in 48 hours. I had to wait 2-3 months of my life in hell to have this thing sorted out while I was suffering and struggling and just been in this pain and suffering for 3 months, only to be told now I have to stay 2 years away from my home. No help, no resources, no support, no money, nothing. If the judge decides the order is real and he is going to approve it, then the person should get at least 30 days of public assistance if they don't have housing, if they don't have somewhere to go. We can't just remove someone from their house and then put them out on the street and expect they're going to be okay. We can't expect that. It's not real. I do a lot of work around murder-suicides. This is exactly why we have a lot of murder-suicides that happens when you have the system used against people and then they just keep using it like a power over someone, right? This person is struggling and you have a power over them. You've lied, you've cheated, you manipulated them, and then you turn around and use the judicial system to re-traumatize and re-victimize them. That's going to be changing. If the person is diagnosed with critical health challenges, like real health challenges, then the whole hearing thing of this thing needs to be addressed in a way that does not put this person's life and health at further risk. Okay? So the other thing is, if the person is found to have lied on this restraining order, then Penal Code 210.45 needs to be enforced. Why is this woman who has now, I have proof that she has lied on this restraining order, not held accountable for that? And then some people are asking me, so why didn't you pursue the case? As the lawyer said, you could prove that she lied. If you prove that she lied, then she could be arrested. She could have done the same thing that she was trying to do to you, you could have been done to her. And I said, you know what? Honestly, I didn't want her to be arrested. I didn't want her to be arrested. If she got arrested, she would never be able to work in the field that she does. She would never be able to work in the field that she does. She would not be able to take care of her children. I didn't want her to be arrested. I just wanted this to be handled in a very amicable way as two decent people, two good people of character. But she showed that's not, but that doesn't mean that I have to stoop to that level. It doesn't mean that I have to be vindictive. So I chose not to. I chose to take the 2-year stay away. Right? I chose to take the 2-year stay away and now have to start my whole life over again. And she still doesn't even have, even when I offered her that I would sign over my portion of the property and everything to her without no money, you know, you can take the whole equity, you can, I don't want anything from you. I just need my stuff at the house. And not even that she has allowed me to do. For 9 months, 8 months of mails sitting there. Mails with very critical and important things. Mails that could be, mails where even payments that have come in for me for work that I've done. Mails for all kinds of important things. My credit has gotten messed up because I don't even know. All I'm seeing stuff showing up on my credit because mails are being sent to me and I can't get them. And this is a person that I have. So the other thing in the legislation, the police departments. One of the things I found out about the police department when I asked how did they not fully document what happened that night, I was told that you have 30 days after the incident for you to make an amendment to what was reported. Now, 30 days, I was wrapped up in so much within 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. It's now 9 months. I'm still going through this chaos. 9 months, I'm still going through this chaos. And partly because the police report did not document her part in this whole thing. So she's getting away again with another thing. The bias of the police and the judicial system against men. And as men, we're afraid to talk about when things happen to us. I was sexually abused by women twice. I had one physical assault by a partner who drew, when I went to the hospital and they were stitching me up, the lady asked me, the nurse asked me, she said, what happened? She said, this is serious. What happened? I said, I fell and I hurt myself. I was so ashamed to tell the nurse that my intimate partner drew my blood. When that incident happened, I stood there and I cried. I cried like a baby before I went to the emergency room. Looking at that blood running out of me, looking at all that blood pouring out of me. If that was not my intimate partner, everything would have been different. But because it was an intimate partner, I couldn't raise my hand at her. But she raised her hand with a weapon and hurt me to the point where I was bleeding so badly I had to get stitches. Sexually assaulted twice and told by the women, you're a man. It's not assault. You're a man. This is what you guys want. You guys want to be sex. And so, yeah, I could twice told that because I'm a man. So for us as men, these systems and the social construct is set up in such a way that we are seen as the aggressors and the abusers, but not the ones who are being abused, not the ones who are being re-traumatized and re-victimized. And it's something that we have to change in our society because too many women and females, just like with this, see that there is this thing within the system that they can just walk in and cry that they're the victim and just walk out of there with all this power and authority over us. Power and authority over us. Okay, but if the systems are not held accountable, then there's always going to be this opportunity for people to walk in and use the same system against the very people who they abuse, manipulate and victimize. She manipulated me. She manipulated everything about our relationship. Okay? And then turned around and used the judicial system to remove me from our home and then took control of my entire life, shutting down everything. So this legislation is going to change that 30 days, all right, to 5 years, because just like sexual assault, remember years ago when sexual assault, the statute of limitation was changed for sexual assault, because when you traumatize someone, You can't give that person this short period of time and expecting them to get over what happened. So we're changing that 30 days to 5 years. That the police department can be held liable if this scenario, like what I'm going through, is as a result of them not documenting properly what had happened. So that's the other thing. The other thing is, if the person is in emotional distress, we already know Daniel's Law is there. I've been an advocate for Daniel's Law. I've been one of the people who's also pushing for Daniel's Law, which says law enforcement should not be responding to people in emotional distress. And here is my example personally. And I've been a part of this for the last 2 years, just advocating and being in Albany, working with legislators on this whole law across the state. And now I went through this myself. Police departments should not be responding to people in emotional distress because they don't know how to de-escalate emotional distress and address it properly. Now, this officer that came, I give him credit. He did a good job. He did a good job. But the policy that took what he did and took it to a whole nother level, that's the issue. That's the problem. And not every officer is going to be like that. Because I remember when I was allowed to go to the house to get my stuff, 2 officers had to come with me, and one of them was a female, and she was very rude and disrespectful. She was very rude and disrespectful, even to the point when I had the attack, or the headache and the attack, and emergency services had to be called. It was a male officer who said to me, "Sir, you need to sit. You're falling over. You need to sit." He said, "Would you like me to call EMS?" And I said, "Yes." And I told him, I said, "Look, the police, the chief of EMS and the chief of the fire department knows me very well. I sent a letter of my health conditions, my medication, to the chief of the fire department, who lives 1 block away from where we live. He walks by the house all the time. He sees me outside all the time. You know, he knows me very well." So when I sent that was, guys, I'm trying to show you something. My health was so serious that these things have been put in place as a result of how bad my health was. And my partner, who I've been caring for all these years, didn't even care about me that much. So when EMS was called, and my chief got the call, and he came, he's like, "I know, Brett. Don't worry, Brett." He's like, "I know everything that's going on." And he was telling them, the EMS guys, the ambulance guys, the police department, "This is Brett, this is guy. He works out of his home. He helps people. He does the suicide prevention stuff, but he has these health issues. Right now, his head is like this. He can't see, he can't hear, and he can't." And the officer, the male officer said to the female officer, before I got that far into my, he said, "The guy is being kicked out of his own house. He's not even allowed to come to his own house. How are you talking to him like that? How can you, like, you talking to the man, like the man is." That's what the male officer said to the female officer. She was very rude and disrespectful. And partly why that thing was triggered. And my partner sat there in the car, because when I came to get the stuff with the police, she was about to leave for work. And she had driven out of the garage and was in the driveway, and she saw everything that happened, and she sat there in the car and did nothing. Even when EMS was taking me away, she sat there and did not do anything. Yeah. Remember what I said. This is a person that I have been taking care of for the last 7 years, in her health, in her personal development, in her academics, improving on herself, improving on her, her career. I have been there with her every step of the way through everything, supported her every step of the way through everything, been at every doctor's appointment, every procedure with her. Whenever she needs help with anything, I'm the one she calls. I help her. We live together. This is my partner. So the legislators have said to me, say, "Okay, Brett, listen, we're about to end session. It's June. Session's about to end. So here's what we need you to do. We recognize that this is clearly a very serious issue you're talking about, and we can't even understand how it has gotten to this point. But here's what we need you to do. do some research across the state, put it out there, hear the feedback. If people have gone through this or other people have gone through this, put it out there and get some feedback and bring it back to us when session opens in 2026. Bring it back to us and your findings, and then we're going to look at this legislation that you're proposing. It's not that we don't trust you or we don't know you. We know you, we respect you, you're reputable, you're highly regarded here, but this is a very significant thing that you're talking about. So we want to make sure that you have talked to people who have gone through it. You've talked to organizations like Safe Horizon and these other entities who provide victims services. You need to talk with these organizations about what you went through, get their thoughts on it, because there will be some pushbacks, because some people are going to say, well, victims are, we understand that. What we need you to do is do your research on that. So what I'm doing is from this month, July to December, while I'm working on all these statewide initiatives, I'm also working on this Reform Act for the restraining orders. I have an email that's set up called victims with an S at brettascutter.com. If you have gone through something like this with a restraining order from a partner or a family member who has used it against you in a way that was innocent, that you were re-traumatized or victimized just because whatever they did, please send me an email to that email, victims at brettascutter. I'm going to drop it in the video too. I will talk to everybody who reaches out about their experience. I will talk to everybody who reaches out about their experience, because when I go back to the legislators in the next session, I would be able to say to them, I've talked to this amount of people, I've talked to these number of agencies and organizations, and here are my findings. So I've shared this with you, this personal struggle I've been going through the last 9 months. I am in a much better place mentally, but physically and financially, it's a lot. And even the fact that I chose to walk away from my share of the property, my sanity is the most important thing. I've lost so much, both materially, financially. I've lost a lot. I'm literally starting my life over again. But what I don't want to lose, and I never want to lose, is my sanity and my peace of mind. And that's why when God said, let go and let go, let me handle this. Let me clear this spiritual warfare that you're in. And I'm glad that you now recognize that, Brett. But now it's my turn. Let me handle that. So sever that connection, that tie. Just leave her the property and everything with it. And you need to get back to what I need you to do. So I leave that to God. This is by far the wickedest and evilest and most heinous thing somebody has ever done to me, much less an intimate partner. Yeah. This is by far the wickedest thing I've ever experienced. And it's from an intimate partner. I pray for her. I pray over her. I ask God to bless her and help her and guide her because she has life-threatening health issues. Those are not things that are going to be fixed easy. She has life-threatening health issues. And it's going to take a lot of work to get those things done and over. So I will give you an update on this as how and when things are going and what that looks like as we work on this legislation to reform the system. And I will keep you posted as to how things are going with that. But thank you for taking the time to listen. I know this is long. It's longer than I thought it would have been. It's longer than I would have wanted it to be. But here we are, starting that process of restarting my life and really doing something meaningful with it that can positively affect other people and make sure that nobody else goes through this again, especially not at this level, not like this. Nobody should ever walk into a courtroom and a judge is already biased against you without even hearing your story, without giving you an opportunity to tell your side of the story, and just taking one person's side of the story simply because of a gender, right? We're tired of being victims as men, especially men of color. We're tired of being victims. We're tired of being traumatized. We're tired of being taken for granted, manipulated, lied to, cheated on. And we should not be afraid. We should not be afraid or ashamed to talk about how we're feeling and what we're feeling. So I hope that this experience for me can help a lot of men, males, men, us, step out of the shadows. Step out of the shadows, right? Don't raise your hand to a partner. Don't hurt your partner. Don't physically or verbally hurt that person. Walk away. Learn how to walk away. Yes, it's a lot of pain. Yes, it hurts like hell. Yes, your life has been upended. You're mad. You're angry. There's so much anger, so much pain. But guess what? All that you're losing, you can replace. And you don't know what God can do for you or what God has in store for you in your life. So walk away. You may be walking away from so much negative things, and so much positive things are in store for you, but you will never know if you don't walk away. You won't. So I hope by sharing this and my own journey with this pain and this struggle and how I chose to handle it by, again, never disrespecting her, never being rude to her. I got an email invite from her the other day, about a month ago, about something with the car, something that wanted to be done with the car, and it was an invite to go with it. I never even responded to it. I just left it alone. So, to be continued. I will keep you posted. Thank you for your thoughts and prayers. Be well.